Charles, my first 7 years in Boston, I lived in 7 different apartments. I was moving every year.
I did not
and
know
I
that.
think I still have the record over Brandon Cooks, but homeboy is approaching fast.
The thing with Cooks is, and I think this is part of why he ends up getting dealt and moves around, what is he? I think that in all these past places, when he's acquired, you're sitting there and you're going, they just went and picked up a top flight #1 receiver. And then he's not a #1 receiver. He's just not. And then I think eventually teams figure that out and they go, we don't want to pay him to be a #1 receiver because he's not a #1 receiver, he's #2 receiver. Cowboys have identified him as a #2 receiver.
How seriously should we take these New York Knicks?
I think they. Don't you think they could get by the first round? Don't you think they could get by the first round?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
There's no. I feel like there's no timeline on it. Look, man. I'm so underpaid right now as far as my contract and what I contribute to the team. It's like I am relentlessly pursuing this. I want to get something long term done. I want a team that wants me long term.
Yeah.
Right? Because look, I'm at the peak of my game, right? I'm gonna score you another 20 touchdowns. As long as I'm healthy, I'm gonna score you 20 touchdowns. I'm gonna have, another 1,600 all-purpose yards.
Yeah.
Right? I'm getting half my value of what I could be getting.
Preach, brother. Listen, who can't relate? I'm for damn sure underpaid. I'm thankful, but I'm for damn sure underpaid. Listen, Michael, let's do this, bro. I want to run a hurry-up offense through some NFL topics because I've identified a through line through today's news, and that's that, it's all about the money. All right? When they say it ain't about the money, it's all about the money. It's money matters. Money makes the world go round, okay? Must be the money. Right. So let's see how many of these we can power through, all right? Because I think we can tackle quite a few NFL hot topics, starting with Austin Ekeler, who I seem to recall it was you, Jim Trotter, and Mike Jones, all in the 4-box on this here show, telling me how, of course somebody's going to trade for Austin Ekeler. He's special. I'm like, yeah, he might be special, but he's a special running back.
No.
And as a running back in this economy,
go ahead.
All three of y'all wasn't trying to tell me that I was crazy.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we told you we were crazy.
You were just
we didn't say,
nodding?
of course,
you were
somebody.
Just nodding?
I said, I didn't say somebody's going to trade for him. I'm saying he's right.
What'd you say?
I'm saying he's right. He is underpaid.
Yes, because you do have in your feed.
He is
your
elite.
feed says
he does.
He's right.
He's 100%.
Completely, totally, inarguably. That's what you got in your feed.
Inarguably. He's right. He's right. Because we act like I hate how this happens in a lot of sports where somebody will identify an area where we pay too much attention. We are overvaluing something. In baseball, many years ago, was RBI. Oh no, we're overvaluing batting average. We're overvaluing RBI. We're undervaluing on-base percentage. And that's true. And somebody will take that kernel of truth and turn it into something completely different where you go the other way. And anybody who can give you an RBI, anybody who's got a high batting average, don't worry about them. We've done the same thing in football. Running back, we just get a running back in the second round. We just get a running back in the third round. We just get a running back in the fifth round.
That's not new.
It doesn't matter.
It's not new,
It does.
Though.
First of all, it's also not true. You can't just get any
Where'd
running
they get
back
Austin Ekeler?
who's going to be Austin Ekeler. Okay, so everybody's going to be, so you can do that. Just replicate that then. Give me four examples of Austin Ekeler. You can't, because they're not there. Austin Ekeler is a record-setting. He's a record-setting running back. He's special. I told you earlier, first 6 years of his career, 2 guys, Austin Ekeler and Lenny Moore, are the only 2 guys in NFL history to have the production that Ekeler has. That's right. Give me an amen. That's an amen from Stokely. That's an amen in dog. They bark. In a row. So, listen. Well, Ekeler is an incredible offensive weapon. So just because he's got RB after his name doesn't mean that you can't place him on the field and create a mismatch like you can with the wide receiver, like you can with the slot guy. It's the same thing.
Mike, I'm not saying he's not right about the player that he is. I want to be clear. I'm not saying he's not right, but I'm telling you the real. I'm dealing in reality, not his opinion of himself, which is grounded in fact. Just for housekeeping purposes, he signed a 4-year, $24.5 million contract in 2020. His average annual salary is 14th among all NFL running backs. He is due this coming season, in the last year of his contract, $6.25 million. That definitely is underpaid for somebody who produces at his level. But you can find running backs in the mid-round, in the late round, if you really want to reach for a running back in the second round.
Can you find one like him?
Undrafted. Yes.
You can find Austin Ekeler.
You can find running, yes, they come and go, and they don't last that long. Okay? If the guys that have expensive running backs, you know what they're trying to do for the most part? Figure out how to move on from them. All we hear all offseason is how the Vikings might be getting rid of Dalvin Cook. So he is right, but deserves got nothing to do with it. They all fall off. So, it's the nature of the position. They all fall off.
So who are these guys? Well, where are these Eklers? Yeah, give me all these. Where are all these Halle Berrys? Where are all these Halle Berrys? Okay, no, second day in a row, Jamie Foxx. But where are they?
Day in a row. That is good. That is good.
All right, so
that is good.
Where are they? Where? So
NFL history and Michael, NFL history and modern contemporary NFL history is littered with running backs who can produce. Do they produce 20 touchdowns a season, to your point? Of course not. Okay. But who can produce enough? I'm not saying he's not a great player. I'm saying the nature of the position is as such. Okay, I'll say what I said a couple of days ago. I'll say what I said in the initial conversation when the three of y'all were telling me I knew what I was talking about. Where are all the suitors then? And that's not out of disrespect for Austin Ekeler. But where are the people lining up for this special player? Why is he going on a media campaign to talk about his situation, his plight, if he's so special? He's exceptional, but he is not an exception to the running back rule, which is you can get him for cheap, younger and cheaper. And in this draft class, in this free agent class, in this economy, I'm sorry, he's not gonna. And listen, just because I'm saying this, it'll happen in 5 minutes. He'll get traded in 5 minutes to get a mammoth contract just because I'm so hard to paint on this. I know that would be awesome. Phenomenal for your purposes. That would be phenomenal. Yeah, we just run that on loop. And I don't see a team coming up off of picks and money, even for a player such as him. Moving on to our next money matters. Okay, today in Lamar Jackson developments or non-developments, as it were. So there's a couple of things. Per PFT, his representative for Jackson has been contacting at least one team regarding a potential offer sheet. Apparently that representative is not certified by the NFLPA, which is a whole nother can of worms. But that representative reportedly is telling people that he doesn't want a fully guaranteed deal, that he might be ready to move on from the Ravens. But what I want to focus on is Stephen Holder, my man Stephen Holder over at ESPN. He says the Colts haven't ruled out potentially pursuing Lamar Jackson. Here's the money passage from his article. Indianapolis did not rule out having discussions with Jackson, according to a team source. However, the club has not taken any substantive steps regarding Jackson, and it is unclear whether it intends to do so. Team sources have expressed skepticism about pursuing Jackson, but there are compelling reasons for the Colts to investigate Jackson's availability. After all, it cost him nothing to simply have a conversation. And can a team that has had the Colts' problems at quarterback afford to rule out any avenue to landing a proven starter, even when the process is complicated? That's the thing. Right now, the amount of teams committing professional malpractice by not at least talking to this dude, because he's vulnerable right now. If you whisper the right sweet nothings in his ear, who knows what he would sign for right now? Maybe they wait until after the draft so they can give up 24 and 25 picks. I don't know. But my God, at least talk to my guy or whoever is representing him. Certified or otherwise. Right.
Yeah, okay. And that's a little side hustle. I'm sure the NFL is cracking down on NFLPA, might be cracking down on this, but it happens for players who don't have agents. It happened with Roquan Smith when he was with the Bears. He had an agent, not really an agent, speaking on his behalf, and they shut it down, and he signed a deal, probably with the advice of that agent/non-agent. But Mike,
Right.
I'll say it this way: as journalists, we're both journalists, or we used to be. I would say competitively, there's a responsibility to talk to Lamar Jackson for half the teams in the league, and journalistically, it's your responsibility to do it. Don't come back to me. Don't come back to my editing desk and tell me what you heard and so said, second hand, third hand, fourth hand. My question for you as an editor is going to be, did you make a call? Who'd you reach out to? What do you know? What'd they say to you? Oh, I didn't make a call. I just heard from so-and-so. No. I don't want to hear what you think you know about Lamar Jackson. Bring this guy in. I've heard so many teams either directly or indirectly complain about players and their agents spin information. If we could just sit down in a room without the lawyers, if we could just talk this out, blah, blah, all the cliches. Well, here he is, Lamar Jackson, no agent, and he's available at a discount because let me tell you, $32 million a year, if he were to sign that with the Baltimore Ravens, that's a discount for a quarterback at that level.
32? Did you say 32? No, I don't think he's going for 32. Oh, that's a hell of a discount.
No, I'm saying
you mean the franchise tag. Oh, yeah, but he ain't doing that a year, though. Yeah. I got you, but he ain't doing that a year. That's not going to be his average. Got you. Okay. Yeah.
So my point is, hey, you got an opportunity here. He's 26 years old. There's some friction, maybe even dysfunction, not just in the relationship, but I'm starting to see some signs in the organization. I'm seeing some signs I don't really like here. Go in there.
Back in the day, when you and I used to frequent the club back in the day. And you in the club, you don't care what's going on.
You did,
but you don't care what.
You did.
Listen, hey, I'm a quote positive K for you old folks watching the show. Okay, I got a man. What's your man got to do with me? He got a team. Okay, like listen, I can make you happier. Who cares what Lamar Jackson, whatever drama he had going on with the Ravens and why they couldn't get a deal done. You come in and be the closer. It's your job to shoot your shot if a Lamar Jackson is sitting there all by himself, sipping on his drink and ain't nobody next to him. It's like, let me walk up and see what's happening. I don't see no ring on his finger or her finger as the case may be. So if any team should be desperate to stop the quarterback carousel, it should be the Indianapolis Colts. This makes a ton of sense. All right, back to stuff that ain't making dollars. Cam Newton, Auburn's pro day. Your boy Cam Newton, not ready to start that media career that you said he should have started a long time ago. Cam Newton throwing at Auburn's pro day, and he announced it. He announced it, of course, on the gram with that funny font or whatever that writing is that he uses. Here he is.
Right.
Don't worry about it. I'm going to say it. I can't wait to say it. I love it. I love it.
Okay. Still got the cannon.
Oh, cannon.
Video. Is that him? Is that him catching? Is that him or somebody that look like him?
I'm seeing a lot of people
toiling
the idea, and it's official. I will be throwing at Auburn's Pro Day Tuesday.
118! Oh, is that right? 118! I like this.
Catching it?
I like it. I like all this part.
Oh, that's somebody else.
I like all this stuff.
Right, cool.
I like all this.
Okay.
I got no problem with this. I'm happy for him. I'm smiling with him. It's good to see Cam.
Better than me, you did.
Okay, that's where I got a problem.
That part right there. There we go. That part. Go ahead. You first. But that's the 32, right? You talking about the 32 number? Why is that a problem for you? I know why it's a problem for me. Go ahead. Go ahead. 32. Why?
Why is it a problem? Why is it a problem for me? Because Cam Newton, when we last saw him in training camp in 2021, I shouldn't say that. The penultimate time. Here we go.
Right.
Using my SAT words. The penultimate was training camp.
I remember you called it.
Training camp with the Patriots, 2021 Cup.
Yep.
Mac Jones gets the job. But then the last time we saw him, he's like, I'm back. Came back to Carolina, scored a touchdown. Michael Smith getting excited,
and I went
jumping
crazy.
out of his chair. I told you, Cam about to go on a run.
I sure did.
Here it is.
I sure did.
I don't know who this is for.
I remember it.
You were going in. And then we saw Cam Newton take over. Okay? We saw Cam. And Cam Okay, Mike, I don't want to be disrespectful because I've been entertained by Cam over the years. I enjoy listening to him. I've enjoyed watching him. But I'm going to say this very respectfully as I pass it back to you. Natalie is working with us. Natalie is doing a great job. Natalie, could you call Cam Newton and ask him to come on Brother from Another? Because that's what he needs to be doing. He needs to be a guest on this show, a panelist on this show. I'm glad he's at the Pro Day. There aren't 32 quarterbacks better than Cam Newton. There are about 96. There are about 96 quarterbacks better than Cam Newton. What?
Okay.
32?
No,
He's
okay.
a starter?
They're not. So, okay. The 32 is a problem for me for a different reason.
Let me see your list.
No. I'm not. This 32, that shouldn't be his focus. Because there probably aren't 32 more talented quarterbacks in the NFL than Cam Newton. But they're, right now, for one reason or another, fairly or unfairly, probably a mixture of both, probably 50-50, there are 32 better fits, whether it's scheme fit, whether it's youth, whether it's potential, salary, whatever it is, there are 32 better fits at starters right now, not to say nothing of the incoming rookie class who will assume starting positions. The number for Cam should be 64 because there definitely aren't 64 better quarterbacks than Cam Newton. Cam Newton's focus should be to be a backup right now. Because if you're a backup, as we all know, you're a play away from being the starter. And the problem right now is there's this perception that Cam Newton and his aura, like Rick James, he had that aura going around. He's too big to be a backup. See, the thing about being a backup quarterback, at least as I've been told, is that it's as much politician as it is player. It's not that you just have to be able to step in without a lot of practice reps and perform. You also got to manage that quarterback room. You got to manage the starting quarterback. You got to manage the offensive coordinator. You got to manage the quarterback coach. You got to manage the quality control guy. It's like you got to be almost like a counselor. Cam Newton, we know you can throw the football. We know you can still run, probably better than most quarterbacks.
Do we?
Cam Newton needs to be probably from a talent standpoint. Like, my point is arm talent. Like, is he the most accurate? No, Michael. We know he's never been the most accurate. But you know that from an arm talent standpoint, he can throw the football. He's a physical specimen still. But can he be a backup that is willing to take on the responsibility, the babysitting responsibility, if you will, of being a backup and be somebody who's an energy giver and not an energy taker to the rest of that locker room and to the starting quarterback? Okay, we got to keep it going. Hurry up offense.
We can keep going. Can I just say real quick?
Make it quick. Go ahead. Make it quick.
That sounded good. That's a bunch of BS. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
That sounded good.
Fair enough.
BS.
You know what? Next. And to adhere to my own timeline, I will accept you calling my take BS, and I will move right along. Speaking of BS, you was on that bullshit when it came to the Philadelphia Eagles and them running roughshod over the San Francisco 49ers. And here's a former Eagle, Javon Hargrave, saying what? He got his new money from said 49ers, but he was like, you know what? It would have definitely been different. It would have most definitely been different had the Niners had Brock Purdy. So I ain't really got a take on this. As much as I just want to show you that those who know that the Eagles, I ain't taking nothing away from them. They deserved it. There's no asterisk next to their appearance in the Super Bowl. But if you can't even pass, if you can't even throw the ball, guess what? You shit out of luck. So the 49ers had no chance, and Javon Hargrave said what I've been trying to tell you. So there's that.
Okay.
But I don't want to spend much time on that. There's another Eagles angle.
I don't either.
Go ahead. Go rebuttal.
I don't either.
You can retort. Allow you to retort.
Here's my rebuttal. I'm staying on theme with the through line since it's money. Hey, what's the song? Some people got to have it. Okay. Look, he just saying like they ain't pay that much, Javon. They ain't pay that much to lie. Now you're with the Niners, and it would have been a different story. Calm down. You got the contract. Check's not going to bounce. Keep it moving. All right, what else?
Okay. Also, speaking of lies, is C.J. Gardner-Johnson telling a lie? Now that his situation with the Eagles didn't work out, he took a one-year deal from the Lions. This is our team now. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. This is both your teams. are the Lions actually more talented than the defending NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah.
He was also acting out on Twitter. By the way, he was also acting out on Twitter. He deleted him, but he was talking about Hurts don't. What is it? Hurts don't it. I don't know what that means. Maybe Hurts don't it. And he said it's getting ridiculous at this point. No, he didn't say that. I'm sorry. He said Philly fans call me overrated. Y'all was just my friend switch ups. So anyway. Yeah, he's feeling froggy, so he's jumping now that he's a Detroit Lion. But I think there's an argument. Like the Lions, they don't have the same level of proven talent. To say nothing of some talent has left the Philadelphia Eagles. We know that. Some players have moved on. But I mean, when you look at the Lions and what they have on both lines at wide receiver, Hurts is certainly a better quarterback. But I think the Lions' point is. People are done sleeping on the Lions. The Lions sleeps tonight, but people ain't sleeping on the Lions. And I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson, is he drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit? Yeah, but it's some damn good Kool-Aid. That's all I would say about that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I got to wonder about this. From Gardner-Johnson talking about my Lions that way, he took them to another level. They haven't made the playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs in 5 years. Okay, let them make the playoffs first, and then we can talk about it. But then, to be going at Jalen Hurts, to even put Jalen Hurts' name shouldn't be in your mouth. Because the last time I saw y'all, your defensive coordinator out in Arizona, he took the second half off of the Super Bowl, and then the defense didn't do anything. They didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Like, why are you talking about Jalen Hurts may have been the best player in the Super Bowl, even though
I told
they
you
lost the game.
I wouldn't have minded co-MVPs. I wouldn't have minded. I would not have objected to co-MVPs.
What are you talking about?
I think
even
both
for
these guys,
even for pun purposes, just
Yeah.
Don't mention Jalen. Leave
Both
him out.
these guys are just excited. All right, we got a couple more we got to get to, and then we got to get to Jay Adande. We can make these two quick. Magic Johnson, reportedly a part of Josh Harris's group that is bidding to buy the Commanders. All I want to say about Magic is Magic Johnson has the all-time record for, like, being involved in stuff. Like, Magic is always, like, in the mix. Like, you know, we need to get some sizzle. We need to add some sizzle to this package. Let's call Magic. Magic didn't have TV shows, Starbucks, movie theaters, foundations. He been a part of every ownership group in LA, damn near. I mean,
the Dodgers.
It's unclear how much. Wait, this is my favorite quote. My favorite report.
Part of the Lakers.
The Dodgers.
Part of the Dodgers.
Right. It's unclear how much capital Johnson's contributed to the group. None. He Magic Johnson. That's all the capital he need. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you got? Magic? Okay, that's enough for us. So that would be awesome. Daniel Snyder up out of here. And if Magic Johnson, anything he's a part of, I am supporting. Somebody who is not lacking for money. That's what costs a lot of money. Somebody who is not lacking for money. Last topic that we're powering through. Roger Goodell will probably get another extension at the upcoming league meetings. I think he makes like $60 million a year or something like that.
That's all.
I was thinking. That's all. I was thinking, like, again, I'll go back to how we started with Austin Ekeler. Deserves got nothing to do with it. Does Roger Goodell deserve to get this much money? Of course he does. Because he is the perfect shield for the shield. Like, every time we talk about what's wrong, like our boy Jim Trotter, I mentioned Trotter earlier. Our boy Jim Trotter gives Roger Goodell the business. It is an annual tradition. He gives him the business at every Super Bowl press conference. And Roger got to sit up there and take it and got to have his voice and all of his bad sound bites played. Roger just takes it. He takes. Listen, Roger eats shit for $60 million. And hell, I kind of sort of work for Roger at this point, but it's the truth. Like, it's like, he takes all the bullets for the owners. All of them.
Right.
Like, the owners could sit there and not be available to the media, not say a word, do their business, and not have to be accountable because we're running out Roger. And the pie just keeps growing. So as that pie just keeps growing, I mean, listen, he earning his money. I know that much. Last word, Sally roll the music.
Yeah, he's the face of everything, really, in the league. And so he deserves it. Yeah, he deserves the money he's getting because the league has it. But I think also players deserve guaranteed contracts, too, because the league has that money, too. Like, you can't make the argument that Goodell deserves his and then argue against players and nickel and dime them. You really can't. Here's the other thing.
For
about
sure.
Magic. I want to go.
The league is nothing without the
Magic.
players.
I want to go to Magic real quick. You said last week that Michael Jordan is really like the ambassador. Like he's the poster for what it should be. He's the art, not even the poster. He's in the Louvre.
I completely
he's the
disrespected
artwork,
Magic.
the masterpiece.
I
of what it should be.
disrespected Magic.
But no, I think Michael is one. No, I think Michael is one. I think Magic's two.
Yeah.
Magic's in that top 5.
Well, I don't even know if he's
impressive.
number 2. I mean, as a mogul, I think a lot of guys love to pick Magic Johnson's brain about how to move. I know Jalen Rose looks up to Magic Johnson in that regard. So
a lot of people
I regret the error. All right, the Grizzlies beat the Mavs last night as Ja Morant nears a return to the court. He could return tomorrow night. Dylan Brooks, who had an eventful night himself with the whole jersey exchange snafu with Kyrie Irving, so everybody got their jokes off again at Dylan Brooks. Grizzlies win again. Brooks catches another L. Dylan Brooks said Ja even offered to come off the bench, which I was obviously, shot down. I think he even got a standing ovation, Ja Morant did. But back to Kyrie Irving. Again, the jersey snafu got a lot of attention. But he also said that there's been an overload of judgment when it comes to Ja Morant, J.A. Adande. And you've covered the NBA for years, sports in general, but the NBA closely for years in particular. And I'd love to hear your perspective on just how the Ja story has been covered, especially given some of the shenanigans that players have gotten in the past, but not necessarily in the social media in the digital age, but how the Ja story has been covered, the precedents for Ja's behavior and cautionary tales, and just where Ja goes from here, Professor.
I will say this, there's been selective outrage over who has a gun where, to borrow from the title of the Chris Rock show. It's funny, he gets in trouble for having a gun in an establishment called Shotgun Willie's, where there's a big neon sign with a shotgun outside. So the notion, right, you can't have a gun, this is Shotgun Willie's. It reminds me of the old movie Dr. Strangelove. You can't fight in here, this is the war room. And so the notion that he gets in trouble in a state where we have a member of Congress whose Christmas card featured her and her family, and including her kids, all toting weapons, right? They're all holding guns.
Open carry state.
Right, right. The fact where we see, I'm wondering, is Ja going to get suspended by the league, or was he going to get invited to the next Republican convention? Because anytime somebody waves a gun, it seems like they're front and center and they're honored guests at the next Republican National Convention. So, the selective outrage over someone with a gun, where we see many people celebrated for guns. They're proud. They're waving guns left and right, including on their Christmas cards. They have guns. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting to me that this notion of this complete fascination that this country has, this worship of guns that the country has, but it depends who's holding the gun, right? And what they look like, whether or not we choose to elevate them or to punish them. Now, certainly within the context of the NBA, yes, this is something that you can't have, including the history of the NBA and the sometimes difficult racial tightrope that the NBA walks, and that David Stern fought to push back against. And, Michael Smith, you mentioned the history of this. Obviously, you thought back to Gilbert Arenas and what got him suspended. And it's funny that, again, there were serious allegations of Ja Morant, flashing a weapon at a teenage boy, as was alleged in that Washington Post story. That's not what got him in trouble, is this Instagram Live thing. If you remember, Gilbert Arenas bringing the guns into the locker room wasn't what got him suspended. It was doing the dance, the finger guns dance in a warm-up, in a picture that went viral for its day, that David Stern said we can't have that. And that's basically what led to the demise of his time in Washington. But it certainly got him suspended. He didn't get suspended till that picture of him with the finger guns and the warm-ups got out there.
But I want to get your perspective on this, because I think, and tell me if you disagree, I think Adam Silver and the NBA, I think they have gone out of their way to try to allow certain players to figure it out themselves before they come in. So that's why I think it's appropriate that Ja and Kyrie were hugging there, because Kyrie was in the same situation. Hey, Kyrie, if you could just say, you know what, we're going to allow you, just do a press conference, just say you're not anti-Semitic and we can move on. And he wouldn't do it. and they suspended him. Ja had so many examples, so many opportunities to just be like, hey, nah, I'm not, this is not, I'm not really about this. Story kept coming up. You mentioned the Washington Post. There were several Washington Post stories. There were several incidents. And then eventually, I think the NBA said, okay, we got to do something because Ja, Memphis ain't figuring it out on their own, so we got to step in. I mean,
and he was heading down that road. Yeah. It was similar to Gilbert Arenas. It's funny. After the Washington Post story came out, so this stuff is out there about Ja weapons. Of course, we had the allegations where the Indiana Pacers felt like somebody had trained a laser sight on them from a car with Ja Morant's buddies in it. All this stuff was in the air, and I'm watching a game, and one of Ja's teammates hits a big shot, and Ja's doing like this. He's shooting guns, going back to the huddle on the sidelines. I'm thinking, this is just, you want to be careful of what you're putting out there. And then to go on Instagram Live, I mean, talk about, self-inflicted damage. No one shot this. This wasn't video just like those
with
pictures
somebody else's gun.
In the strip club making it rain. Right.
With somebody else's.
I mean, wow.
Well, allegedly.
What are you proving?
Allegedly.
Right? I mean, right. Well, the league investigation has determined, for their purposes at least, that it was somebody else's gun.
Yeah.
So
right.
just the lack of awareness, and that's what, Holley, to get back to what you were talking about, he's got to be, you got to read the room, you got to see what's out there, and don't make us come in, because when we come in, it's going to be a lot more drastic.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say for himself when he does eventually meet with the media, if he hasn't already.
Well, he talked with Jalen Rose, and I thought that was a mistake too, because he sits down with Jalen Rose before he's eligible to play again. So my thing is, don't talk before you're fully reinstated, right? He wasn't reinstated yet. What do you have to say? How can you say you've learned your lessons yet? What updates can you provide? It's been like a week. This is going to be a long process. To sit down and give that interview, I thought was wrong.
I saw the interview. I meant what else he has to say. I'll leave it at that. But pun intended, hopefully he dodged a bullet here. Jordan is reportedly selling his majority stake in the Charlotte Hornets. Adande, co-star of The Last Dance. Michael and I were talking about Jordan as an owner, and in no way am I absolving or excusing the Hornets' putrid record with him at the helm. But I believe, and maybe this is me just being a Jordan sycophant that I am, I believe that Michael Jordan's failure as an owner is used to knock down the otherwise unassailable player's legacy a peg or two, because for the most part, and then a lot of ownership groups have changed, they've come and gone, they've gone through highs and lows, but for the most part, with some exceptions, but for the most part, he's not unlike most owners, most of his fellow owners. Other than that, he's the greatest player in NBA history. Most of them, they have no idea what they're doing when it comes to management. Your thoughts on Jordan as an owner? I know the record.
I'm just sad that it didn't work out, and it's funny. You spoke of The Last Dance, for which I appeared in 3 minutes and 2 seconds over the course of the 10 episodes.
But you were like the second voice we heard, though.
I'm in there early. I'm the second talking head.
Very early.
Mike Wilbon and
NBA. Yeah, they were right talking
heads.
Yeah.
9 seconds less so bump. Somebody went through and they tracked all the on-air time for all the talking heads. So I got 3 minutes and 2 seconds, I think. But it's funny. It actually came on. I was watching the last episode of it just Sunday morning. I was in a hotel and turned on TV, and there it was. And, to see Michael at his peak again, and to think that we're, a good quarter century beyond that. And, to realize, and I think part of this was realizing that he will never be as great at anything else again as he was at playing basketball, and so many people, athletes, they're forced to retire at such an early stage of their life relative to the rest of their lives that they're constantly searching for that next thing. It'll be interesting to see Tom Brady, who has been the hungriest and the greatest and has had so much passion and so much success in that phase of his life. Will he be able to find anything that comes close? Michael Jordan has searched and searched and searched again for 2 decades, including trying to come back and play basketball one last shot and see how he could stand up against those young guys. Smith, you talk about, we sometimes use this against him. I don't think so. We don't use the Washington Wizards.
Not we.
Against him.
Some people do. Some people do. Forgetting how great he was in Washington.
Right. I think but I think the Last Dance did show a whole new generation what exactly he was about and how great he was and how much he cared and how driven he was. So I don't think this is. I always say, your legacy is set. There's the Elvis exception where, sometimes we remember the Vegas Elvis as opposed to Elvis at his peak. But for the most part, I call it's a Pat Rileyism, or it sounds like a Pat Rileyism, the principle of peak preservation, that we remember people at their best. And when we think of Michael Jordan, when the name Michael Jordan comes up, we're going to remember him in that Bulls jersey, doing 6. We're going to remember Jordan, game 6, that holding the shot, the follow through up after that, and then the 6. And then we never got to see until the Last Dance where he's giddy in the locker room back with Scotty going, 6 of them, 6 of them. That was one of my favorite parts because that was Michael like we normally don't see him. In that throes of ecstasy after winning his 6th championship. He's getting ready to pop the bottle of champagne and just saying, 6 of them, 6 of them. That's the type of Michael Jordan we're going to remember.
Well, speaking of people we will never forget and whose legacies we'll always remember, because his name is synonymous with playing through pain, with, showing up just to give your team a boost. Like even people who never watched him play know the name Willis Reed, who has died at the age of 80. The National Basketball Retired Players Association announced on Tuesday. He, of course, won 2 NBA titles with the New York Knicks. And who could forget Willis Reed coming out of the tunnel? It's one of the iconic images throughout NBA history. You got any Willis Reed stories? Either one of you guys. I don't know if Michael.
I do.
Your NBA beat days. Yeah, what you got?
Willis Reed once inquired about my availability. The closest I ever came to having a chance to play in the NBA, I was up doing a story on Willis Reed, or I was doing a story on the Nets. They were still the New Jersey Nets, of course, in the 90s. And they were having some issues with the point guard position. Kenny Anderson had come and gone, and they were looking for a point guard. And I was talking to Willis Reed about it when he was the general manager there. And he was out ideas. At one point, he turned to me and said, "Can you play point guard?" I said, I played a little point back in my day, but I don't think I'm what you're looking for. But that's as close as I ever came to having a chance to play in the NBA. So thank you for Willis Reed for a split second for allowing me to entertain the notion of playing in the NBA. But I think it proves your point, Michael, because he was not great. He did not enjoy great success as the general manager of the Nets. And yet, the principle of preservation, when you see the name Willis Reed, when you learned of his passing away, I'm guaranteed, just like everyone else, Mike, we thought of that grainy footage of him coming down the hallway of Madison Square Garden, out of the tunnel and onto the court, limping his way in to score those 4 points that he did. So we will remember him at that peak moment, just like we always will remember Michael Jordan at his peak.
Yep. Hey,
did he ever offer you a job, Michael Holley?
Well, before we get to one more thing on the NBA, with you before we change courses, would love to get your thoughts on just the contemporary discourse around MVP. Willis Reed, a former MVP, the award now named after Michael Jordan. It went from Nikola Jokic about to join that rare air of being a 3-time MVP to the people who were inclined to vote for Nikola Jokic have now been bullied into like, no, you better not put this dude in the company with Larry Bird.
It's been a disinformation campaign. A disinformation campaign has come out against Nikola Jokic.
But also, Joel Embiid is just taking that thing. So I just would love to know what you think of the race right now that we're getting close to the end of the season, which we should have waited for to begin with, but also just the way that the conversation and the debate around MVP has evolved in all your years of covering the league and voting for the award.
The race involved in the MVP.
The first part, we should have been waiting, and I know part of the problem is, and sorry, shows like this contribute to it, but we start having the MVP debate in November. Like we get 2 weeks in, who's the MVP? No one's the MVP in November. We did it a couple years ago. Steph Curry had that incendiary April where he's just going off, scoring 40 every game. Oh, this means he's the MVP. No, it means he's the player of the month for the month of April. Look at totality of the season, and it wasn't enough. Let's wait. What happened to waiting? I remember Steph Curry's first MVP, 2015. I had a vote, and I was leaning toward James Harden the majority of the season. I thought James Harden had been the MVP. And then there was a late TNT game, and I'm watching Curry. Might have been against the Rockets even, but he put on an MVP-type performance. And that was sort of the clincher for me. And I think people should allow for those moments. They should allow to see how it plays out. And after everyone seemingly had said that, determined that Jokic was going to be a 3-time MVP, he sort of fell off. Jokic and Giannis both came up to re-enter the chat and to make it clear that this thing is far from decided and what are the criteria going to be. I define MVP as the player who does the most to put his team in position to win a championship. Obviously, you're not going to win a championship in the regular season, but to me, the regular season is about positioning yourself, trying to get the top seed, trying to qualify for the playoffs, positioning yourself for the championship. What player meant the most? I put a lot of emphasis on that most, and I define value as contributing to winning and as to putting your team on a course to win a championship. You don't have to win a championship. I thought LeBron should have been the MVP in the 2015 NBA Finals, even though they didn't win. He did the most to put his team in position to win the championship in that series.
Mike, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Well, let me ask you this. We're going to switch gears. I'm going to ask you a baseball question on the way out, J.A. True story. And if you've ever been to Cambridge, Massachusetts, they move a little different in Cambridge than the rest of Massachusetts and maybe even the rest of the country. Berkeley can relate, Berkeley in California. So Saturday night, I was in a restaurant in Cambridge. It was after 6 p.m. On the TV, no sign of March Madness. Instead, World Baseball Classic, USA versus Venezuela. And they were going crazy when Venezuela did something. A lot of Venezuelans in the room going crazy when Venezuela hit a home run. And so World Baseball Classic, I think it means a lot more outside of to some outside of the United States than it does to us. But look, I'm excited, Jay. I love what it's become. I love the final, Japan versus U.S. How do you see this thing playing out? Just your perspective on the World Baseball Classic.
I hope we get to see Shohei Ohtani pitching against Mike Trout. How great would that be? And, just the anticipation. And in watching this, I was watching a lot last night. That Mexico-Japan game was as great a baseball game as you're ever going to see with a walk-off hit to end it. And this is what baseball should be like. But B, you get the anticipation. And, we're used to anticipation in October. And I think that's what baseball is built on, the moment. Okay, the closer is facing the cleanup hitter of the other team, with the winning run on base, et cetera. That anticipation, the drama. And we're getting that from this. And we're getting the passion that we don't normally see in baseball in America. We're seeing how much this sport means to other countries. And you just wonder if some of that can spread and can catch and can last here in the United States. Because this is what baseball should be like. Fun, passionate, dramatic, all that stuff. My one last thing, they should play it in the middle of the summer. Just take a break, shut it down like NHL and the Olympics, and just play it in the summer. So, Michael, that you don't have to choose between this and March Madness or a big NBA matchup.
Fun, passionate, sometimes dramatic, but in a good way. That describes Jay Adande. Good to see you, brother. Hey, can you come on in April so we can talk NFL draft? That's it. Go to break. Go to break. Go to break. No. I know that's your favorite event. I know that's your favorite sporting event. And you love it.
I wanted to go somewhere that I felt like I had an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. And when I went there, I sat down with Coach. I sat down with the GM. I sat down with all the coaching staff. And I felt like Carolina was the place to do that. I feel like there is a real chance to win a Super Bowl, and that gets me so excited. I think the staff of how excited they were that I was there, and what I could bring to that offense, to that team, to help them win football games was exciting. And then all the pieces are adding. I mean, when they added Andy Dalton, that was a huge part to me going there. Just knowing that a veteran guy's played a lot of ball, can really groom and help lead a team and a young quarterback that will be coming in. And then Miles Sanders, Hayden Hurst, these guys, I know they're talking to a couple other receivers that could really help. The guys that they already have there. So a defense that finished, I think, in the top 10 last year. I'm excited. I couldn't be more excited. I didn't know it was going to happen this free agency. There was other teams that were kind of putting some pressure on, but I couldn't be more excited to be a Panther, and I truly mean that.
Steve Wilks finished strong with very limited resources in Carolina on the fly. And this is what black folks know what I'm talking about. In a number of professions, we're handed a bunch of crap at times, and hey, make the best of this, and we make something out of it. So Steve Wilks did that with the Carolina Panthers, who were left for dead, and by the way, moved on for Robbie Anderson and Christian McCaffrey as he was trying to figure it out. So at the end of the year, David Tepper doesn't even have the decency to go to his final game. And after Steve Wilks is fired, they bring in Frank Reich. They make a trade for the #1 pick. They assemble this all-star coaching staff. My point is they could have done the same thing with Steve Wilks. They could have spent resources on the coaching staff. They could have moved up for the #1 pick. And now Frank Reich will get credit for a better operation than Steve Wilks ever had a shot at getting. And so this is what's so damn frustrating.
It is
about the
frustrating.
plight of black coaches in this league. The beat goes on.
Steve Wilks never had a chance. Those are the first words from our guest, Tashan Reed of The Athletic. He covers the Raiders and the NFL for The Athletic. Those are the first words of his column introducing his 5-part miniseries called Between the Lines. It's available now, and Tashan, through 18 months of reporting and writing, explores how America's biggest game has failed to grapple with America's biggest issue. You heard Michael Holley preach a word yesterday. Episode 3, I believe, in the podcast series tackles the invisible ceiling when it comes to black coaches in the NFL. What was the key takeaway from your reporting from that episode? Because it feels like Steve Wilks, I was thinking about this, Michael Holley, more so than Brian Flores at this point, has become the face of this issue, Tashan.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was, something that we all knew is nothing's changed, and that the reasons are multifaceted, though. I know we always focus in on the ownership level. Obviously, they run these organizations, they own them, they make the final decisions in a lot of these cases in terms of who the next head coach will be. But you also have to put blame on the GMs, that are involved in the hiring process, on acting head coaches for not placing black coaches in positions that lead to head coaching jobs, like offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, defensive coordinator, to players willing their power more and pushing for more change in that front, to us as the media, honestly, making it a bigger issue and something that we talk about year round, and not just, during Black History Month or after the hiring cycle, and then we forget about it the rest of the year. And so when it comes to figuring out how to find a solution for the issue, we have to take in the big picture of, like, this is on everybody, really, in terms of pushing for it. Like, there's no one group that can suddenly, flip a switch and make this change.
Oh, Tashan, why did Steve Wilks and others, why did Steve Wilks never have a chance, and why don't others have a chance?
I mean, we all knew what it was with Steve Wilks. I mean, as soon as he, got that job, the Panthers, I mean, it was a terrible team. They traded away Christian McCaffrey. They weren't really trying to win. Like, they surprised and went on that run. But even then, we've seen black coaches get in that position before and overperform expectations, or get in jobs like Eric Bieniemy, where they're offensive coordinator and they have all the credentials and they still don't get their opportunity. Like, there's just a different standard for black people when it comes to trying to advance their career amongst the coaching ranks, also the executive ranks and multiple other ranks within the NFL. And obviously this isn't just an NFL issue. It's something that you could apply to corporate America as a whole and many of the most successful businesses in the country. But specifically, among the coaching ranks, I mean, we've just seen this too many times and seen too many qualified candidates, meet that bar that they allegedly set, what they say they're looking for throughout the hiring process. and not get an opportunity. And so it was never a surprise that he, didn't get that job. I think it was, commendable to him that the job that he did there. I don't think any of us expected the Panthers to, be a playoff contender going into the final 2 weeks of the season. But even then, it was like, maybe this will help him get a defensive coordinator job somewhere, which it did with the 49ers. But like, I never really, I never expected him to get a head coaching job though.
So, and again, this podcast, it delves into what it means to be black in the NFL, the series, and explains how race impacts each level of the league's organizational chart. Be sure to check that out, subscribe, support it. A couple of things we want to hit you with before we go on the Raiders front. Jimmy G, 3-year contract. Does that take them out of the market for a quarterback potentially at the 7th overall pick or maybe early in the draft?
It may take them out of the running for one in the first round, but I don't think it'll take them out of the running for one at some point in the draft. They do want to draft and develop a quarterback for the future. They're taking a long-term plan in terms of their team building view. They're not really going for it this year like they did last year when they acquired Devontae Adams and signed Chandler Jones. I mean, just look at their free agency signings. They haven't really done much of anything at note. And where they are at 7 is kind of a tricky spot in the draft because it's a high pick, it's a good pick. But especially on quarterbacks, those guys go off the board quickly, and there's a few quarterback-needy teams ahead of them now. The Panthers, the Texans, the Colts. A team might surprise us like the Seahawks or the Lions, or a team might trade up to number 3 with the Cardinals. And so there's really no guarantee that the 4 consensus, first-round guys, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, all those guys could be gone by number 7. And so unless they trade up, there's really no way they can guarantee themselves to get a quarterback that early. But, looking ahead to day 2, you have guys like Tennessee's Hendon Hooker, Tanner McKee from Stanford. It's just hard to envision. Yeah. I mean, I asked Dave Ziegler at the draft, at the combine, is there a way that they come out of the draft without drafting a quarterback? And he's like, I guess it's possible, but I don't see that happening. And so, you never know how the draft board is going to fall, but they're probably going to take a quarterback at some point, I would say, in the first 3 rounds.
Hey, listen, next time you come back, put me in check on Derek Carr, because Michael thinks I'm a Derek Carr hater. Just because I don't say he's great. He thinks I hate Derek Carr. I need you to just enlighten us on the former Raiders quarterback.
Exaggeration.
You do great work, man.
He's a top 12 quarterback, man.
Oh, well, all right. You heard it from the man himself, Michael.
Oh, wow.
I knew he was going to come on and crush me on that.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.